BD here, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are ranking 2024's Marvel titles from worst to best, and I'm excited to see if you agree with my list or if it's way off the mark. This year was always going to be a pivotal year for the MCU. They only had one movie and less TV shows than recent years, and then on the Sony Marvel side of things, there were so many flops that they've kind of rethought the whole universe in general. So go ahead and share your rankings in the comments section. Please continue to subscribe to the channel because we're going to keep making fun videos like this one. And let's jump in. In 8th place, last place, I've got Madam Web. This one seemed like it was going to be bad from the first time we saw a trailer. Dakota Johnson seemed to kind of just phone in the performance a bit. Sydney Sweeney seemed horribly miscast as like a shy teenager not really knowing what to do in there. And honestly, if I tried to tell you what the story of this movie was looking back at it after seeing it, I honestly couldn't even make sense of it. And then whoever thought it was a good idea to let Dakota Johnson wear that costume and those glasses at the end, I just thought it was all so silly and cheap. And the baiting for Spider-Man started there this year and it didn't end there. But Madam Web just felt like a nonsensical, not great film where they thought it was a good idea to let these teenage girls hang out in the woods, then they were dancing on tables, and all of it was just, whatever. It wasn't a good movie, and it's in last place for me.
Yeah, very cool.
In 7th place, I've got Craven the Hunter. Craven and Madam Web were kind of competing for last place. The only reason I give Craven an edge over Madam Web is that I could actually tell you what the movie was about if for some reason you wanted to know at this point. It also had better action and a good opening. At first, I was like, is this better than people were saying it was? But then it kind of went off the rails and fully lost me. And this is where the Spider-Man baiting really peaked for me. I mean, why did Craven hallucinate spiders in the woods? It doesn't even make any sense. It also doesn't make sense that the only person in this movie who seemed to take earning their paycheck seriously got mauled by a bear at the end of it. I appreciate that they tried with some grounded, cool action stuff. I just felt like this movie was unnecessary and never ended up amounting to much in the end. Next up in 6th place, I've got Venom the Last Dance. I do have a pretty decent size gap in quality between Craven and Venom 3. I think Tom Hardy as Eddie in Venom is a gift. I love that he takes this so seriously. I love that he seems to be having fun with it, and there were some cool gags and stunts pulled off in this movie. The symbiote taking over a horse, a frog, a fish, all this crazy stuff was a lot of fun, but I didn't care to spend another second in those labs learning about the alien invasion, and I also thought it was absolutely ridiculous that the one thing that would get Venom caught by Knowles' army would be as if he came out, if he became Venom. And he hid away through most of the movie, maybe to save money on VFX, I don't know. But he came out for a dance scene with Mrs. Chen, which set the whole third act in motion. It was just ridiculous. The movie was fun, it was silly, it was my second favorite of the Venom trilogy. This movie had the audacity to make me feel something at the end with the Maroon 5 song playing in the background. How dare you! In 5th place, I've got What If Season 3. I enjoyed this overall, but I wasn't as blown away by it as I was with Season 2, and I think Seasons 1 and 2 were both better than Season 3, and I kind of wonder if that's because writer A.C. Bradley exited the show after Season 2. I really enjoyed the personal, more emotional episodes that were coming in this show, and I know that she was responsible for a lot of those, and she was pouring her heart and personal experiences into them, and I felt like this season was missing that. Ironheart ended up being the centerpiece of my favorite episode of the season. It was great to have Shang-Chi back in our lives for not one but 2 episodes, even if his role in the first episode was very small. And the whole thing kind of culminated in this big cosmic space battle, and it felt a bit anticlimactic to me, and I never really found myself super invested in it. In 4th place, I have Ekko, and I don't mean this as meanly as it's gonna sound, but I think this was the most forgettable Marvel project of the year because it wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it just kind of happened, and I'm willing to bet somebody watching this video just went, oh my god, that's right, Ekko happened this year. Alaqua Cox was really solid as Maya, and we got some really interesting supporting characters around her, plus the action was actually really good for the most part, and we got a really good Daredevil action scene with good Kingpin stuff embedded throughout the series. I didn't really care much for where the finale landed the story, but overall, all the things I liked about this and the really cool cultural representation featured in it was enough for it to land 4th on my list. In 3rd place, and if you would have told me at the beginning of the year this was going to be my 3rd place title, I might not have believed you, but Agatha All Along. The show exceeded my expectations, and I ended up really enjoying it. I thought Catherine Hahn was a ton of fun to watch. I want justice for Mrs. Hart. Wait, no, Sharon Davis. And I appreciate the comic booky nature of how they followed the Witch's Road story, and kind of also really made it their own in an episodic format, which I think the Marvel shows on Disney Plus really need to take more of. It did at times feel like it was getting repetitive with trial after trial after trial each week, but Patti LuPone's episode as Lilia in episode 7 was brilliant. That was a masterpiece of television. And after that, it felt a bit more like the finale was an epilogue to everything that came before it, but this series gave us Wiccan, it gave us Agatha in another form, and I'll just leave it at that in case you haven't seen it yet. And I thought overall the show was a ton of fun and had a good story, and it made me want to spend more time with Agatha going forward, even if I didn't get any ties to Wanda in a meaningful way like I wanted to. I kind of wanted to see the Scarlet Witch show up, I admit, but we don't need cameos or appearances to make shows good, and this show proved that. Now is when we're getting into exceptional masterpiece, really, really good territory. In second place, I have X-Men 97. Going into the year, I wasn't super high on this series. I was like, surely it's an animated X-Men series, that'll be cool, but it's not like I'm gonna get incredibly invested in these characters to the point they become my whole personality and I'm obsessed with them and I cry over them and I want to see more of them immediately, right? That couldn't happen. Wrong. That is exactly what happened. They delivered a masterpiece with X-Men 97. I thought this show was brilliant from start to finish, opening in the United Nations with Magneto and everything happening there, to the Gambit Remember It episode and the finale, Professor X is back. The whole thing was awesome. I thought X-Men 97 raised the bar for Marvel animation, it raised the bar for legacy sequels, and it justified its existence bringing back these characters, the cast members finding new cast members to play characters we already knew. I mean, think about the action. We got to see what it's like to teleport with Nightcrawler from Wolverine's perspective. We got a love triangle with Gambit, Rogue, and Magneto. Like, it was just all there. X-Men 97 was great. And even the side stories, like Storm went off on her own to find herself and find her powers, and they found a way to make that work so well too. Overall, fantastic, great show. Please, sir, can I have some more? And my number one of the year is Deadpool and Wolverine. Deadpool and Wolverine was just the absolute blast that I wanted it to be, and it brought these characters back to the big screen in masterful fashion. From that opening credits dance scene to the supporting roles and actors and characters that they kept a secret until the Hall H stage in San Diego or when you saw the movie. I dare say Deadpool and Wolverine is the best multiverse story that the MCU has told on the big screen. Gambit made a name for himself, Blade predicted there was only ever going to be one Blade, and Hugh Jackman is not even immune to being the subject of a crazy divorce joke in this movie, no matter how shredded he got for it, and acting his absolute ass off in that argument scene in the minivan. This movie had heart. I think Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman had a ton of fun making it, and as a result, I just had a ton of fun watching it. Do you agree with my rankings, or do you think I'm crazy? Drop your thoughts and lists in the comment section. I can't wait to see them and hear from you. Please continue to subscribe to the channel if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up so we can get this thing out there and have more conversation about Marvel's 2024 titles. That would be awesome. It really, every little bit helps, and I really appreciate everybody who has had fun with me on this channel this year, and I hope we have an awesome time talking about superheroes, movies, TV shows, and all the things we love next year in 2025. I'm BD. I'll see you in the next video.